The restaurant was loud with laughter and clinking glasses, but across the table, she barely looked up from her phone. I could hear the faint buzz each time a new message came in, see the light flash against her face, but she never smiled at me. Not once. She scrolled, typed something quick, then tilted the screen away when I tried to catch a glimpse. It was like sitting across from a stranger who happened to share my wife's face. I tried to start small talk, asked about her day, her sister's new job, even the new show she'd been obsessed with, but she only nodded, said, yeah or then went back to her phone. The steak grew cold between us, and so did I. When the waiter came to clear the plates, she didn't even look up. That's when I decided to stop trying. I stood up, dropped a few bills on the table and said quietly, "You're not even here." She blinked, as if surprised I'd spoken at all. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done talking to a ghost," I said. Then I turned and walked out before she could answer. The night air hit me like a slap, cold, wet, heavy with the smell of rain and car exhaust. I shoved my hands in my pockets and started toward the car, my pulse thudding in my throat. Part of me expected her to come after me, to shout my name or at least pretend to care. But the restaurant door stayed shut. I sat in the driver's seat, staring through the windshield. My reflection looked back at me, tired, hollow, maybe a little pathetic. I thought about calling her sister Hannah. She'd always been the one who told me when something was wrong, the one who tried to smooth things over when fights got bad. But before I could decide, my phone buzzed. Text. From Hannah. "Don't leave yet." I froze, staring at the message. The words were simple, but they didn't feel random. Not tonight. Not after the way my wife had ignored me like I didn't exist. I typed back, "Why?" The dots appeared, then disappeared, then nothing. I looked back toward the restaurant. Through the big glass window I could see her, still at the table, still on her phone, a faint smirk curling her lips. My gut twisted. Another buzz. "Please. Just wait a few minutes. I'll explain." Something about the message made my stomach clench. Why was Hannah texting me now? What was she going to explain? Rain started to fall, soft at first, then harder. I sat there, watching the water slide down the windshield, my thoughts running wild. Maybe Hannah wanted to calm me down, tell me that my wife was just in a bad mood. Or maybe it was something worse. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. My phone buzzed again. "She's leaving. Follow her." My chest tightened. I stared at the message until the letters blurred. I wasn't the kind of man who spied, who checked phones or followed cars, but something inside me broke loose. I turned the key and waited. A few minutes later she walked out. My wife. She pulled her coat tight, glanced around, and hurried to her car without once looking my way. The headlights cut through the rain as she pulled out of the lot, and I followed. The city lights stretched out in streaks of gold and red as the rain kept coming down. I stayed 2 cars behind, my heart hammering. She turned left, then right, weaving through side streets until we ended up in a quiet part of town. Rows of small houses, most of them dark. She slowed, pulled up in front of one, and killed the engine. Parked a block away. My palms were slick against the steering wheel. She sat in the car for a moment, checking her phone again. Then the porch light flicked on, and a man stepped out. He didn't hesitate, just walked down the steps, opened her door and leaned in close. Too close. Something inside me cracked. She laughed. That soft, familiar laugh I hadn't heard in weeks. The one that used to belong to me. I wanted to storm over there, to rip the door open and demand answers, but my body wouldn't move. I just sat there, shaking, watching her disappear inside that house with him. My phone buzzed again. "I'm sorry," Hannah wrote. "I didn't know how else to tell you. She's been seeing him for months." My throat burned. I stared at the message, trying to breathe, but the air felt thick and sour. Another message came through before I could respond. "I found out last week. She promised she'd end it, but tonight she told me she was done pretending." Pretending. The word echoed in my head until it didn't sound like a word anymore. I sat there for what felt like hours. The rain softened, turned to a drizzle. Through the cracked window, I could smell wet earth and cheap cologne. His, probably. My chest ached with something worse than anger. It was grief, but not the kind you could cry your way through. Finally, I started the car and drove off. Not home. Just away. Hannah called me as I reached the edge of town. I didn't want to answer, but I did. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Why'd you tell me?" I said quietly. "You could have stayed out of it." "Because she wasn't going to," she said. "You deserved to know." There was a long silence. Then she said something that made my chest tighten all over again. "I didn't just tell you for your sake. I told you because I think I'm part of the reason she did it." My grip on the wheel tightened. "What do you mean?" She exhaled shakily. "We talked about you. About how you've been distant lately." I didn't realize she'd take it as an excuse to do this. But when she told me about him, she said I'd made her feel justified. I closed my eyes, letting her words sink in. Guilt, betrayal, confusion. They all tangled together until I couldn't tell one from the other. "I don't know what to say," I murmured. "Then don't," she said. "Just don't go home tonight." The line went dead. I pulled over, turned off the engine, and sat there in the dark. The street was quiet except for the rain tapping against the roof. I thought about everything: her laughter, her lies, Hannah's voice breaking on the phone. Then, another message lit up my screen. This time it was from my wife. "Where are you?" I stared at it for a long time. Then another came through. "Please, we need to talk." The irony almost made me laugh. For weeks, she hadn't said a word to me that wasn't about groceries or bills. Now suddenly she needed to talk. I typed a reply, paused, then erased it. Instead, I sent one final message. "Ask your sister." I turned the phone face down and let the screen go dark. Outside, the rain stopped, leaving the world unnervingly still. And for the first time in months, I felt the weight of silence settle, not from being ignored, but from finally choosing to walk away.